You're watching What's Up World Cup with me, Avanish. And as you can see, we have Nikhil and Pramod and joining us in this cricket.com live brunch on a Sunday. Can you believe that? And to, of course, review 7 teams now, guys, out of the Super 8 who've, of course, locked their place in. We'll talk about all the things which happened last night. Not to forget Namibia, England, and how it was a hide-and-seek game with the rain. But England survived not just that scare, but of course, eventually seeing Australia beat Scotland. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about India, Canada, which didn't happen through what's the trending bit. We'll give you some trivia and lots more as usual in a Power Pack show. First up, gentlemen, how are we this Sunday? Because I was watching 2 things yesterday in Key Focus. Italy-Albania game, Pramod, which was a rocketing start. Saw the tournament's fastest ever goal and all of that. But I also had a keen eye on Namibia, England. So how's everything going for you on a Sunday?
Yeah, it would have gone a little better had at least one of those teams, Namibia or Scotland, pulled off a win. But especially Scotland, I think they'll be a little more disappointed given that they had a good chance of posting about 190, 195 and they really fell short in the last 5 overs. But a good show. I mean, if this World Cup has shown us anything is that absolutely no team, every team has been so competitive. You can't really rest on any day. Probably, I think certain Uganda or probably to a certain extent PNG have not been able to compete significantly at this level. Barring that, I think all other associate teams, especially, they've really stepped up their game a notch. If you look at them, on a tournament by tournament basis, I think this tournament has probably been the best performance put in by associate countries. It's a pity that only probably 1 or maybe 2 will make it through, but I'll take that.
No, who would have ever thought that USA and Canada would finish higher than Pakistan in that group? But they have, and it's just me spitting facts on a Sunday. Nikhil, let me get to you because, of course, we missed each other in the watch-along yesterday, which was a pity. We couldn't, of course, bring it to you all because it would not have been a ball being bowled. But how did you manage to find time then with the family on a Saturday night? Did you get a cheeky dinner instead of the watch-along?
Yeah, I also have a lot of family coming over for a weekend. And all they did yesterday was screaming at me that why on earth are you watching a match at 1 at the night? And then why are you screaming at 3 in the morning asking why is this guy batting like this? But again, I think they are more used to it now than they were before. But it's good. Namibia made me ensure that I was awake more than required. And it's okay. As Pramod said, it's a pity they don't get enough games in the first place itself. So whenever they do, it's very difficult. And again, it's easier said than done that okay you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, but it's in the pressure moment what you do that's very, very important. So yeah, good day to have the rain break, but I'm not sure the organizers are going to enjoy this leg of the World Cup because, to be honest, see, it is good for us because we are suckers for underdogs, so we love watching every game, every new player, but not so much for the general audience as such. So I'm very interested to see how they shape up because the venue might not host again if you go by the recent trends.
Yeah, I mean, it's food for thought that everyone is having a little debate and quarrel on Twitter about how the game is going to different parts of the world, but they should do something about retractable roofs and bring that back. But some of the beautiful parts about the stadiums in the West Indies is the fact that they have these great stadiums. And we saw it the other day when I think it was Bangladesh, Netherlands, who played each other, and a brilliant win since sort of right close by the sea and all of that. Right, enough of my fluff. Let's move on to the first segment of the day, and it is about reflection of the last night games. And we'll start with England, Namibia. But first up, the goddamn stat. Right, some game yesterday, even though it was 11 over game, and like I said, hide and seek with the rain, but they got a game, and what did we see? We saw England triumph. They were sweating at some parts of this game, but nevertheless, we'll show you the match summary and how it really unfolded in North Sun Antigua. 122 for 5, 10 overs in. Namibia, remember, winning the toss, and they didn't have any hesitation in terms of chasing it. And initially, I thought that they could have gone harder. I know they had to retire one of their openers, but eventually they succumbed to a 41-run defeat. And lots of positives from an England perspective. Harry Brook batted beautifully, not just the power, but the poise and the touch game was well demonstrated. And of course, some key cameos, which doesn't reflect there, but a 3-ball 12, for example, for Liam Livingston, who mind you, hobbled off just when England's innings came to an end. Right, let me start with Nick's on this. We all wanted it to see, Namibia take a scalp back home, and that was England, but it wasn't to be. And then on the positive for England, they got the job done with the weather staying out of it. So if you're an England fan, this news and this Saturday was just the best Saturday for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And, maybe Pramod can shed more light because I'll take off on a rant if I start talking about Namibia and the things that they could have easily done better to really just be in the game a lot more. It was I would be very honest, it was a very frustrating watch for me. Uh, I mean, जितना बचा hair है मेरा वो भी white हो गया because I could just not understand why would Rubel not bowl two in the first few, because he already had got Josh Butler. You have only 3 overs possible. What are you saving him at the back end for? That happens, and then you bring on Erad Erasmus. Fine, but back Scholes before him. Bowl Scholes, you get a score. It allowed England to build a partnership with Johnny Bairstow, who I think played a very good cameo, as you said, along with Harry Brook, who put the cherry on the top after the break. 8 overs are done. There was rain, and you felt, now, oh, okay, only 80 odd. They consider only 25, 30 in the next three. They have, okay, 35. They still have a chance. What do? They come back and they book Brussels first over Rubel Trumpet. By where is, you don't need experience for this, right? This is just backing your best bowler. So it felt a lot more. It felt a lot to be desired. But as you said, for England, a lot of positives. Uh, of course, Butler and Salt had to show intent, so they went out early. But I think Johnny Bairstow's runs very, very crucial for them, along with Harry Brook. And finally, they play Sam Curran. I was flabbergasted at how were they not playing Sam Curran, because it's just the option that he gives to the side, that if you don't want to use, now that with Liam injured, it just even adds more value. And if the cutters and everything are going to be working, then Sam is the guy that you need to have. And I'm sure England probably sussed the conditions better. I think Namibia just stuck to their pre-game plans and they followed it. But England really used the surface really well. You saw how Tockley bowled in the first power play. It doesn't matter, of course, you can show other intent at the other end, but they were just very good at just closing the game out, which is something hopefully Namibia can, of course, play a lot more and gain more experience for that.
Okay, interesting that you say that, because when you look at cricket.com's website right now, and I'll share it with you all because it looks like this, with Anirudh titling the last night win with regards to the middle order that Nick just touched upon. And they needed the weather gods. They really, really did, because even if you look at the showers which intervened during the game, it was something to take note of. It was a passing shower, all right, but England fans would have been watching absolutely regardless. And it was a picture like that at one point in time. There was a lot of water in that game between Namibia and England at North Sun. But like I said, the weather gods helping them. And then, of course, their batting might coming to the fore. You can read lots more articles to this, which is available on cricket.com. So I'll just stop plugging in that one and go to Pramod and ask him about where did Namibia miss a trick. I know they gave it to the youngster, the 19-year-old Russell, and I think their spinners bowled really well. I think Visa started off excellently with the conditions around. But was it ever a chance for Namibia to win that game after winning a toss as well?
Yeah, certainly. I think for the way the first couple of overs went, you had Butler and Salt back in the pavilion, and you needed, as Nikhil said, you needed someone again keep at it and pressure on, keep the runs down. This comes as a surprise because they're two of the sharpest minds who think so tactically, think about matchups, think about the situation. Their execution, more or less, is usually spot on. So it was a little surprising to see them take off Templeman right away. And Erasmus, I think, although a decent bowler, he bowled quite poorly, I thought yesterday. And Schoen, by the time I think Scholes came on, I think Bairstow and Brook were sort of a little more comfortable and little set. So yeah, I think certain areas there, but then in the end, I think 120 in a 10-over game, they're going to find it difficult even to chase that in 20 overs most of the time, Namibia. So I think, and also given the fact how their openers started out, right? By the time Visa came in, I thought it was already late by the time that retired out incident happened. I think it was already late by then. So had that call been taken earlier, or you could have sent someone like Erasmus and Visa opening the batting, you'd have nothing to lose anyway. Might as well go all guns blazing. Maybe had a Freiling, had a Smith come on earlier probably. That would have made more sense. So in that aspect, I think in all aspects, I think Namibia sort of got it wrong yesterday. It was just not their day.
Shabash, thank you, Avanish.
Sorry, my bad. Because I was actually trying to just reflect the points table for you guys. Just if you guys need confirming, of course, everything's available right now on your phones. But this is how Group P looks like after completion, of course, and getting in by the skin of their teeth. England, of course, courtesy their huge win against Oman, chasing on that whatever they bowled them out for 47 and 19 balls, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that would put them in good stead. And like I said, World Cup pretty much. I know has a couple more group games, but we have 7 teams literally locked in going ahead. And you know what it makes you think? Bangladesh or Netherlands, whoever comes in to be the 8th team, it'll be something to, of course, watch out for. Right, so that was Namibia, England. And of course, you guys can read more about it, and I won't go too much into it, but we just showed you the match summary. I just want to quickly, of course, showcase this graphic of Harry Brook, because he did play a pivotal knock, 47 not out. And I think at that point in time, when they had their backs against the wall, 2 down, both the openers back in the heart, and then you needed someone with Bairstow and, of course, this man who went on to not just bat till the end, but also a very respectable target that they set for Namibia. Right. All important game, which was happening in St. Lucia later, which is Australia, Scotland, guys, because England, they could do only how much they could do and control the controllables, as they say. But Scotland, man, they won literally everything was going for them. And again, it just comes down to poor fielding and all of that. So where do we start? And I'll start with Pramod here. Reflection of first the summary, Pramod.
Yeah,
and when you actually wake up and you think about it and you look at the scorecard or the highlights, you're like, this must have been a great game. And Scotland really gave it their all, but actually posting their highest total in a World Cup game in a T20. So they got everything right. But what went wrong for the Scots, Pramod?
Yeah, as I said before, I think the way they batted in the last 5 overs, I think the platform was well set for them to get about 190, 195. I think that potentially could have sort of won them the game. But I think in the last 5 overs, I think Richie Berrington, who was their most set batsman, I think he got to face some 8 or 9 balls, which also didn't sort of work in their favor. But what an innings by Brandon McMillan. We know he has the talent, he has the potential, and for 2 innings in this World Cup, he's really brought out his full array of shots, especially those hits over long off against the spinners. Were absolute treat. I know he's a very good player of spin, and he showed that against some of the best spinners in Agar and Zampa. But yeah, good innings from George Munsey. Once he got set, Munsey always takes 8, 9, 10 deliveries to get set, but once he's in, he brings out those amazing reverse hits, over the fence. So those were some of the good positive. And during the bowling innings, of course, they dropped Travis Head and Travis Head back in the pavilion in 4 overs. I think yes, and I think minus at the so a couple of catches, I think of key players that too at crucial junctures. I think that sort of ended the things for Scotland.
Yeah, it was a tough one to take for Scotland because they did, of course, deliver the bat. You mentioned George Munsey over there and how he took Maxwell down in particular. I really liked that and the highlight package that I saw. Next, I just want to ask you about Australia because they have just been steamrolling their way to the Super 8s, 4 on the trot. And it was pretty much this man, Marcus Stoinis. Again, we saw it against Oman. It was where he came through and he turned the game with that huge over of Mehran. And then this last night, and he employed the reverse sweep quite a bit. So a summation of not Marcus Stoinis, but also Australia and how dominant they've been so far in this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, again, very odd for me to say, but I don't think they've been as dominating. Oman ran them close. Scotland, Australia needed 75 out of the last 6. It was 60 of 30, and that's when Travis had hit those 3 sixes to Stefan Sharif. So I think they've been run close, which is good for them also. You want again, that's how you want the tournament to pan out. Somebody stepping up for you, and that's where I think Marcus Jones has been really good. Warner's had a good couple of good scores. Travis had again is showing that he can not just play the one way but hold himself in, which is again a positive for them. But it also gives other sides enough intel that okay, this is what you can do to try and put them under more pressure. Because as Pramod said, those sixes from Brendan McMillan. I mean, something that Gaurav would do in the office proper in terms of extra covers because you saw the way he came down to hit Stark for that six, or he hit Nathan Ellis for that one. He hit one of Adam Zampa also. So I think you want that spark and spunk to put that to take the attack to Australia. So I think that's where Scotland did well to push them. Uh, I don't think it'll be unfair to say Scotland are probably the only team who are deserving of those spot in the Super 8s, but haven't made it through because they really played well against England. I mean, they had a good, 10 over mark. They did their best. They've been playing decent cricket all through. And again, in terms of controllables, yes, catching is always there, but we've even seen other teams drop a lot of catches. So Scotland would probably feel slightly hard done by, but I think Australia will happily take the win. Uh, of course, Josh Hazelwood can do what he wants to now in the Super 8s, but he couldn't do anything yesterday by not playing. So I still don't think Australia are dominating, but it is good to get those wins. There are areas that people can still target them, is what I feel.
Pramod, do you echo those thoughts? Because if you actually look at all those games individually, Nix is right. The fact that there have been some close shaves for Australia, but they've got out of jail. And right now, even though it looks very pretty on paper, 4 out of 4, 8 points, cruising, and they wouldn't have liked the fact that they've done their old foes a friend and got England through. But again, Australia just being Australia, would you say?
Yeah, they've tested out everybody in the got a couple of games. In terms of get some game time, Super 8s is. I don't think they'll mind or winning by big. I think they'll be just happy with it, and as I said, they've a fair chance. Australia put.
Pramod, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I feel like there is a stop-start in terms of your internet. We'll just try to sort that out because it is just impossible to see you and hear you as well, more importantly. Let's see if Pramod can just fix his internet and come back. Meanwhile, just take it forward with Nix right now. If you guys are just joining us, please like this video and tell a friend about cricket.com. Where, of course, heading into the business end of the tournament, and we're going to give you lots more watch-alongs that we've been giving you. So on that front, we are sorted. We'll take some random questions before we get Pramod back in. It is pretty much from the previous game that we just discussed about Namibia versus England, Nix. And I know that David Visa pretty much had to come in and retire out, a lad. What would have been your batting lineup? And that's an interesting question that sports fan asked. So would you have sent Erasmus as an opener, or would you have sent any of the other power hitters?
You're 100%. And so I heard the post-match presser where Erasmus said that Visa did not quite want to open. Fair, but you still have enough people. I just think I would have backed experience more. While I do not mind one end where a guy would just go for it. Say Allah Travis Head or Sunil Narendra, that you just go out there and hit whatever you can. We have no problem because you see they had a lot of wickets left in the tank. There is no point preserving wickets in a 10-over game. And I do understand that England were very smart in terms of bowling into the deck. But then there are people like JJ Smith, you have Freiling, they've all played enough cricket to be able to counter. Now, see, it's one thing about skills where, okay, you may say that England are better skilled, but then you can still show intent and find a way to do something about it. So, I would have probably sent Smith to open with one of the two openers, whoever it is. You want the left-right combination, keep it. They have that option also. They could have sent they could have sent Freiling with J. Smith or Davin with Freiling, that just go out there and look to target a couple of boundaries. You don't even need sixes. See, 10 runs per over, of course, it is difficult, but this is a World Cup game. The best that when you are getting less chances, all you want to do is just show that you want to win. Now, again, I'm not a body language expert, but it just felt that Namibia were just waiting in terms of for the first 3 overs that, okay, we'll get the bad ball. It never came. और टॉपली भाई टॉपली है उसके नाम में ही टॉप है यार सॉरी फॉर दैट हॉरिबल पन बट ही इज नॉट गोइंग टू गिव यू एनीथिंग एंड वैन लिंगन kept playing the pool played only in his mind so it can happen the problem is not with the player I just felt as Pramod said they have one of the sharpest minds but it's just on the day they messed up in terms of the batting order you have Smith you have Freiling you have Erasmus David Vise that would be the order I would not even think about Van Lingen and David until and unless required. But again, that is it's hindsight. But you still felt at least A can say you could have sent someone who could have looked to take the game. They did not even rotate. So the problem is when you have one guy who's stuck at one end, that also doesn't help. So probably just a case study for future.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of baffling because I was actually getting tucked into that chase, but I was just like, come on, where's the intent? Till, of course, David Visa finished in a high, couple of sumptuous shots against the spin, Fadil Rashid as well.
Yeah.
Very, very
And his
good.
his last possible international game. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
just did whatever he could.
And he's had a memorable one. Remember, you cast your
Yeah.
mind back to their first game. He was hero, of course, for that super over to get Namibia the points over there. Let's just, of course, for you guys joining us, 3 E's and 2 Q's, which will be a feature in every group. Australia and England, the inevitable. They got there eventually. England, thanks to, of course, their net run rate being super, and Scotland fluffing their lines against Australia, literally. But kudos to, of course, Oman, Namibia, and Scotland for making the World Cup for what it is. I know Oman, literally no points to show, but nonetheless, this Group B finished with Australia on top, England second, heading into the Super 8s. We'll, of course, tell you the Super 8s and who's playing whom and the groups per se. I can tell you right now, Australia and India feature in the same group, while South Africa and West Indies feature in the other group. But right now, let's move on and quickly talk about India-Canada, which didn't happen in the What's Trending section, which features next. Right, what's trending? It was the rain yesterday, which of course left a lot of people baffled about why keep a World Cup game in Florida, where it was absolutely pelting down yesterday, and scattered thunderstorms meant that there was no game between India and Canada. So here it is, Michael Vaughan's tweet, which went on to say, how we don't have more covers to cover all the ground is beyond me. All the money in the game, yet we still get games called off for wet outfields, which of course is something to think about, because we've seen it even this part of the world, if not Sri Lanka, Pramod, where they use the whole tarpaulin sheet to cover the ground, which isn't rigorous exercise. It's labor intensive, but it gets the job done. We're here talking about a world event that the ICC have organized. Shouldn't they have, of course, had a contingency plan, a plan B? And Pramod's also on mute.
Shabash. I'm left to do it.
Yeah, today not my day, my net and my. But anyway, I think they should have taken all this into consideration ahead of the tournament, of course. And Florida has been hosting international matches for some time. I think they've hosted it, I think, for the last 8-9 odd years. So by now they should have ideally figured out that you need to have the entire ground covered during when in case of rain. But from what I understand is usually the weather temperature is quite hot over there. So this rain is sort of surprising. Maybe they have two extreme spectrum. It's very hot when it's hot, and when it rains, it sort of pours sort of a weather over there. But yeah, in the sense, ICC should have taken all this into consideration, not just for venues where there is rain predicted, or whatever the scenario, facility at least, if to sort of it certainly helps in terms of getting the match started. It reduces the pressure on those. They can only absorb only a certain amount, but if you have the ground covered, it sort of prevents the water from falling in. That terms, yeah, they should for in a tournament of this magnitude.
Shabash.
By the way, we apologize to all the guys who, of course, have poured in some of their questions. And Akash Suresh, I have a lot of yours to take still. So hold on. I'm not ignoring them by any stretch. We will take them at the end of the show really quickly, just to, of course, make you feel guys special on the Sunday afternoon. And yeah, Suri has one as well. Akash Suresh has many, and Introspect has a couple, which are good to take. But next, really quickly then on India Canada, did India miss out anything by not playing the game yesterday in Lauderhill? Would you have foreseen any changes? Was it a good thing, bad thing? Talk to me.
The good thing was you did not play, so nobody got injured. So whatever happens now has to happen in the nets. If you know, you know. But jokes apart, I don't think there would have been too many changes. There would have been the temptation to give in a go to say somebody like a Kuldeep to just get himself in. I don't see any changes happening in the batting order for now. You haven't had anything, and again, the New York deck is not the one to judge batters on. So I think the only change that would have happened was possibly Siraj going out for Kuldeep, something we discussed in the previous watch along. So apart from that, no. And I think I'm happy that the games have not gone forward because, as Pramod said, see, it's one thing that seasonal things happen. Your rains come, they go, but how prepared are you to restart it in time? I think that's where ICC will feel a bit let down by themselves. That surely you can foresee, just needing. How does it harm anyone to have more covers? It's not going to harm them. It'll just create a lot more employment opportunities for you to have more people there on the ground and just ensure that the restarts time is quicker. I mean, you have an entire day, no rain, and if you still can't start a cricket match, the ground should not be hosting cricket. It is as simple as that. And अगर drainage सही नहीं है तो वहाँ पे मत खिलाओ. I mean, you're trying to take the game to the newer audience by telling them, dude, we try this game, lovely game, but bro, lot of dependence on conditions, bro. Even if you have 19 bees, bro, game done. See you, bye bye. So it's new people won't come there. So maybe ICC can take I can't control cricket bit better, and they can actually start controlling cricket a bit more.
Okay, let's see how it really goes forward with the ICC and World Tournaments, because there are some questions being asked right now. Like I said a while ago, Suri has this one. Futuristic question to you guys: where do you see international cricket in 15 years' time? Also, why didn't Indian cricket show up and support our soccer players? Random questions which we'll hold on to. We'll definitely pick the best and take them in the end. And Akash Suresh, you have a couple of really good questions, buddy. So hold on to them. And I really apologize for not, of course, taking them. I'll just show it to everyone, and then I'll, of course, take it at the end of the show 100%. Anyway, we're done and dust with pretty much all the games which happened yesterday. We spoke about the first two really quickly and how it's really transpired for Group B eventually with Australia and England going through. And we'll also look ahead to today's games and see how that really plays in terms of the Super 8s, what changes, so on and so forth as well. And that will hold on to, because first up, it's always trivia time. Right, who am I? It's a fun game that you guys have been participating well and, of course, getting chatty in the comments with all your right answers. We'll tell you who won the competition yesterday and who it was yesterday in terms of the clues that we gave you for this player. Three simple clues like we always share. The first one, I became the first player to score 100 in all three formats in the same domestic season. And then the second one says, my brother has also represented the country in an under-19 World Cup, while the third clue in this Who Am I for yesterday's was, I share my birthday with over 10 international cricketers, the most for any date. Did you guys get it right? Because the producer needs to tell me what the answer is, because I'm no ways getting that.
He has told you in the chat.
Has he now? Has he now?
Yes, yes.
He has told me. He has told me. So yesterday's was Glenn Phillips, and the right answer was said by Nihal Das. So congratulations, Mr. Das, and enjoy yourself. A big smile, and hopefully you can get us in touch on Twitter, and of course we'll do what we have to do on that regard. So good on Nihal Das. Glenn Phillips was the answer to yesterday's Who Am I? And just a confirmation, these are the three clues really quickly, even though I read it out for y'all. Right. Time for trivia today in terms of the Who Am I? And what do we have? Well, we have this. I represented my country in age group cricket before quitting the sport at the age of 19. I later kept in touch with cricket by becoming a head groundsman back home. And 7 years after quitting cricket in 2012, I made my T20 international debut. Who is this player that we're referring to? Remember, he became a groundsman He, of course, made his T20 international debut in 2012. And not to forget, he was on the verge of quitting the sport at the age of 19. But you guys can let us know in the comments, not in the live chat, because don't be so generous with your brains out there, because people will see the answers and then copy it in the live chat. So, I mean, in the comments. So do that yourselves right after the show gets done and tell us who you think the player was that I was talking about in today's Who Am I? Right. Last part of this particular What's Up World Cup, because I was actually thinking penultimate part with the comments being promised. So penultimate part with let us looking ahead. Right, the games come thick and fast in terms of the World Cup, and it doesn't stop today on a Sunday as well. And it is pretty much playing for pride, you would say. Certain games will, of course, be huge in terms of the last spot of the Super 8. I'm talking about that particular group, which was Bangladesh and Netherlands. And of course, we'll take a look today what the offerings are. First up, it is, of course, the final farewell for Pakistan in Florida. I didn't have all the Fs lined up there, but it just naturally came up. But Babar and company will have something to say against Ireland, who've both by far been the most shittiest teams of this group, to be fair. So it's pretty much a little relegation dogfight in Group A. That comes at 8 p.m. If you guys are going to watch that or going to watch Euro football, your guess is good as mine. Bangladesh, Nepal, that is a tasty one, and that's a 5 a.m. one. And if Nepal can cause a surprise there, and then Netherlands beat Sri Lanka, it is something to really, really hold on to. Speaking of Sri Lanka and Netherlands, they take on each other as well from St. Lucia, similar venue from where Australia played their game last night. Right, where do we start? Pakistan, Ireland, plenty of pride to be played for. I know Imad Wasim came out just a while ago saying that it hasn't been worse than this for the Pakistan team. Do you think it is time to press the reset button? But how many times will they press it? They pressed it thrice already this year. They've gone literally getting a new coach. Then they've got a captain. They've gone back to the same captain, Bobsy Karlega. But Bobsy, guess what? Is not Karlega. Does that make sense for you all Pakistan fans? So, Nix, what is your... I know we'll talk about Pakistan in our review shows and all of that. But really quickly, what can they show the world today against Ireland? Can they just come out and be like, you know what? Let's just give people a reminder of what they can see next World Cup, albeit it's 2 years' time.
Yeah, firstly, I hope we don't have covers to see and the game happens. That is the first thing that I want to look out for. Because Ireland, remember, they've beaten Pakistan the last time they played in terms of a series. So it is not going to be a cakewalk. Never is in international cricket. But for Pakistan, again, as you said, it's their favorite, let's do this again. Here we go again. Change jerseys, change coach, change captain, change chairman, but the things remain the same. Uh, it's just probably the one final. It could all potentially be a set of players who might not be playing together too often after this one. So looking forward to see how they really play that out, because there are a lot of people who've played multiple World Cups for them, but it hasn't worked out in their favor. So very keen to see if they change the combination to try something new, because they'll have to do it eventually. If you stay stagnant in terms of your tactics, then it is not going to help. And Ireland are not going to come easy. And again, Florida, we don't know how exactly the conditions will be, but hopefully they can just find a way to end the tournament however they want to, and then just take a call that what is it that you want to do with this side. I mean, because there was a time when Sarfaraz was at the helm that Pakistan was turning into a great T20 side, where okay, wow, Imad was even doing this, the Pacers are doing this, and then you have everybody playing the roles. But again, with Babar and Shaheen, again, you have to give Shaheen more time. So not sure what went wrong there. So again, to promise something for Pakistan is very blasphemous. Can't attempt to do it. So all we can say is Kudrat Kanizam will take place, but for whom we don't know.
Yeah, it'll make you think what happens with Pakistan, especially with now Guy Kirsten over there, which was a move you felt specifically done for this World Cup, and it's not really ended well for either of the parties over there. Akash makes a point yet again, and I can't refuse this one because it is Pakistan related, and he goes on to say the former Paki Pakistan opener, beg your pardon, Ahmed Shahzad has been cussing out the whole team in social media and YouTube. His agony is true, and he was a great player, and he spoke true facts about Babar's most runs coming on a losing cause. I mean, lots of people are having their say. I think even Wasim Akram exploded on the broadcasters not too long ago about how certain players should just go have a good look at themselves in the mirror. And of course, they're playing for their country, let alone all the money that they've been given. I mean, Imad Wasim says that, funnily enough, but how it's one of the darkest days in Pakistan's history. But maybe he should concentrate in his fitness and what he's been doing on and off the field. If you guys know, you know. But look, just tongue in cheek with Pakistan. Let's see how they come across. Let's see if the game happens in the first place, because Nick's mentioned it. Just looking forward to seeing a game there in where is it? Yeah, in Florida, in the Central Broward Regional Park Stadium. Right, Bangladesh Nepal then is game 2, which spills over on the Monday morning. And remember, Bangladesh still need to get the points secured. So can they? Will they, Pramod? Because Nepal felt so bad for them the other day, losing to South Africa. But they'll come back again, and they could play party poopers.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that's the case. I would love to see Netherlands sort of win and get through. But then, even if Bangladesh lose, it's an uphill task for Netherlands on the final day. Especially, they'll be up against someone like Sri Lanka, who will not be that easy to beat. But then, Nepal came so close. I think that's the closest probably they're ever going to get to winning a T20 game, probably in the World Cup. But yeah, I mean, against Bangladesh will also won't be that difficult in terms of they have their depth in their spin department, which played such a key role in St. Vincent the other day. Yeah, I think what Nepal would have learned from that game is they should have probably gone in with another spinner instead of a pacer. So I'm expecting either Lalit Rajbanshi or Sagar Dakkal to come back into the 11 in place of either Sompal Kami or Karan Casey, or for that matter, even for Avinash Bora for that matter. Other than that, they showed that they have Dipendra Singh Gairi, Kushal Malla. They even have Rohit Podel, who didn't bowl a single ball the other day for some reason. So they have their once they have that, of course Sandeep Lamichanne is there. So the spin department will again play a key role in sort of restricting Bangladesh. But Bangladesh, we've seen their spinners too have not been too shabby this tournament, with the likes of Rishad Hossain especially, who's been exemplary with his leg spin bowling. So I think it will come down to that as to probably which spin department sort of fares better on the day, would probably walk away with the 2 points.
Yeah, it'll be good to see the battle of spin ensue in, again, a beautiful location. This time it's at night game, so let's see how it unfolds. Just a reflection then of how this group is looking currently. South Africa played all their games, and now it's just this remaining game, and it does make you think a little bit about how the results can really sway this group. So, like we showed you, it is, of course, Netherlands taking on Sri Lanka at 6 a.m., 1 hour later than the Bangladesh-Nepal game. So let's presume then, if Bangladesh do get the job done, then it's done. And even if it's a washout in St. Vincent, Bangladesh go through. So Netherlands has to win, and has to win by some margin. Knicks, it looks pretty much 80% that the Bangla Tigers will sneak through. But what needs to happen if the men from Dutchland need to prevail? Because you're thinking they have to beat Sri Lanka by a huge margin, and you're thinking Nepal have to at least beat Bangladesh by 25, 30 runs or 7, 8 wickets.
Yeah, but see, those results are not. I mean, you can't go into the game thinking like that, because conditions haven't quite been rosy, so to say, in terms of batting value. So they've been low scoring on. There is help for bowlers, so there is a chance that if you just have the best day of your life, you can keep the opponent to a low score. And then if you want to win big, try and just chase it down as quickly as possible. What England did, against Oman. So, firstly, Nepal, Bangladesh. See, Bangladesh batting hasn't quite been reliable, and I think therein lies Nepal's best and probably the only chance to win big. That if you the Karan Bhai can have his one magical spell day today. Come up with a new ball, have a 3 over spell, take 3 for 4, just run to the top order. Because there are only 3 batters in Bangladesh at this point of time: Mahmudullah, Shakib, and Toy. इन तीनों को जल्दी ले लिया तो you have a lot of good prospect of keeping them to a total that you can try and chase. And Nepal have a lot of people who can do proper Jai Mata Di. Of course, the closing the game out is where they lost out against South Africa, but you hope they will be smarter after that one very harsh loss. For something like even Gulchenja, who I'm probably second owner of his FC with Pramod and Akshay there, but you learn quickly from such games also because you know what's at stake. So that is, I hope, something that Nepal look into. For Netherlands, same thing like has happened with Bangladesh, right? The batting hasn't quite clicked. Now this could be the game where Kusal Mendes and Asalanka, everybody comes into form, and so it may be. But again, if you bowl first, there are helpful conditions. Just try and do the best you can, and then because I don't think you can defend a score quickly, but you can try and chase it quickly. But in terms of having more in your favor in that sense, so firstly hoping for Nepal to do something, or फिर Netherlands, Sri Lanka तो बाद में देखेंगे. You have Basile, Logan Van Beek special left. Who knows? Today could be the day.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think about Sri Lanka as well, because I know they've had a forgetful tournament,
Yeah.
and it culminates finally for them in St. Lucia against Netherlands, like I said. And like Nick said, it could be a day where all their batters just get going, and it's not the best news in the world for Dutch fans, is it, if they get sent packing and then Bangladesh go through? But it looks, in all likelihood, Bangladesh will be that eighth and final team to make the Super 8s. And what particular teams we'll see and how they will get on with each other. The USA are in it, of course. South Africa, West Indies, like I said, England are in it now, and they'll feature in that South Africa, West Indies side of the group. And Australia, Afghanistan, who else? There will, of course, be Bangladesh, and not to forget um, Afghanistan themselves, who've just been superb, which we'll give our thoughts about in future watch-alongs and the future live shows and so on and so forth. But right now, let's just quickly take a couple of questions, like I promised earlier, from Akash Suri and the rest. Akash Suresh and Suri, beg your pardon, mixing two guys in one. How many teams are there in the T20 World Cup 2026? And will Pakistan and New Zealand directly qualify regardless of them not qualifying to Super 8s? And will they get into 2026 due to the ranking? I think because of the latest point system, they still get through. I know the US have booked their place. Pramod, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, so basically, of course, the top eight teams from this World Cup go through to 2026. There's no doubt about that. But I think there are, I think, four more places up for grabs, which will be based on the ranking. So basically, India and Sri Lanka are co-hosts of 2026, so they are through, regardless of Sri Lanka making it through or not. So you have nine, I think, teams that are decided right away. The question is, I think next three more will be decided through the rankings, for which the cutoff date is 30th June.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 30th. So based on as things stand, the three highest ranked teams which have not made it through are New Zealand, Pakistan, and Ireland. I mean, this is assuming that Bangladesh qualify tomorrow. If Bangladesh don't qualify tomorrow, so they'll be the third highest ranked team before the cutoff date.
Deadline.
And the rest of the 8 teams will be decided through regional qualifiers.
4.
Since this is a 20-team event, so they're not having a global qualifier anymore. So so now the teams from each region, like Asia, Europe, Americas, and I think East Pacific, I think, if I'm not wrong. So teams from there will get an entry to the World Cup depending on where they finish in their qualifier. So the remaining 8 teams, I think, will be decided by that.
Okay, interesting.
And just FYI, the Europe qualifiers are going on. So
yeah, the sub-regional qualifiers. Yeah. We've seen Joe Burns. Joe Burns scored a 15 on debut, and he's doing well. Yeah. So good chance for Italy to make it to the qualifiers.
Yep.
Incredible. Prayash Payal saying all the pressure is gone now for Nepal. I'd love to see them bat first and show that's the only tap and run. Good luck today, Prayash, for your game. Just end the World Cup on a high, because honestly, you should have beaten South Africa. Should have really beaten them, but that was your chance, which went in vain. Suri saying a bunch of things, Suri. I don't know what mood you've woken up on a Sunday afternoon, but we'll take one of your comments. We're seeing a huge impact of climate change on our civilian lives. 20 plus people have died in a heat wave. We've seen droughts too. Instead of austerity measures, IPL matches were held in Karnataka. Look, this is a completely different subject, which will definitely open up a can of worms once we discuss it, because we've spoken about it in previous shows gone by in cricket.com, and we feel like strongly about this. So we, of course, sympathize with anyone who's lost their lives in such a situation, but at the same time, we understand that it's not always a scapegoat to blame the IPL or cricket for that matter. They have taken preventive issues, but it's something that everyone will kind of throw a dagger upon from once in a while. So that's how I would answer that question, and not get into the specifics of it on this What's Up World Cup show. Look, guys, we can go on and on and on and take a lot of comments, and we really appreciate that, given that it's a Sunday afternoon, beg your pardon. There are games like we just told you about to look ahead to, and there's plenty of football action too, which we do not cover on cricket.com, but we probably will, given so much of our office are huge footy fans. Right, Nick's Pramod, thanks for your time. It's a curtailed show, and how it should be, Akshay Kumar Swami. That's how it's done, not 1 hour and 55 minutes and making it some bloody podcast and Ram Kata. But look, we like it that way. Speaking of Akshay,
I think this is the first show Nikhil has been a part of, so he doesn't understand the.
I know.
But I have heard all of it.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But speaking of Akshay, you guys can go catch him out because India, South Africa, the women's cricket's going to start today, and all the games are in Bangalore. It's proper South Africa's tour of India with regards to that, and it'll be fascinating to see how Smriti Mandhana and the ladies go. Thanks for your time. Like I said, keep your comments coming through, and remember, we are in touching distance of 90,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're about 250 away, so please subscribe if you're listening for the first time, and tell a friend about cricket.com, because we're here to stay, very much so. That's all we have. Cheers. We'll see you soon.